Okay, so before I start this video, I just wanted to explain one thing. What you're not going to be able to really see in the video is the power behind the oversteer. You're going to see the speed and the acceleration, but not the sheer power. For example, say you're on a right-hand corner and you apply opposite lock to correct the slide. You'll notice a ton of power being applied in the direction of the opposite lock, like way more power than even you are applying. It's incredibly unrealistic. Not only that, but it causes a severe amount of stress and strain on your wrists. Because as you're applying opposite lock, it feels like there's a second person beside you, a very, very strong person who's grabbed the wheel and is trying to turn it with a lot more, with much, much, much more force than you need. Even if the wheel is moving slow, you can still feel this wall of force that just wants to power through you. Also, like let's say in a drift car or a road car, if you go to you're in a drift and you let go of the wheel and the wheel kind of spins on its own. In real life, even if the wheel's spinning fast, it's easy to grab the wheel and stop it from spinning. Very easy. With the direct drive wheel, you feel a tremendous amount of power wanting to keep turning the wheel, keep trying to power through you. It detracts in a lot of ways from the driving experience of direct drive wheels, especially when it comes to oversteer and like the whole counter steering thing and the auto centering of the wheel. And sometimes it feels like the wheel is doing the driving on its own, and I'm just holding on, and I'm just here along for the ride, rather than me having to put my own inputs and my own skill into the car, and it's very, very painful. It's extremely disproportionately overpowered. Even if you bring your direct drive power down to like 8 Newton meters or 7 or something like that, that auto centering opposite lock sort of force is still way too powerful. It's extremely disproportionately powered. So I'm going to be doing 3 different tests with different force feedback settings. For all tests, I'm using 450 degrees of steering lock and 20 degrees of the in-car lock. And you can see even on this test, I'm using a fair amount of damping and friction, 15% for both. Okay, so I'm running much more conservative settings for this test. I've lowered force feedback from 15 Newton meters to 12.5. That's 60% to 50. I've lowered torque bandwidth from 3300 hertz to 2200. Damping and friction, I've doubled both from 15% to 30%. 15% was already fairly high. These are not settings I would want to play with, by the way, but it's just to show you that with such conservative settings, how aggressive the wheel movement still is. Oh, and I've also set the slew rate limit to 1.00 from unlimited. That will also help make the wheel much less aggressive, but you'll still see it's still way overly fast and accelerative. Okay, so in this final test, I'm using the settings that I kind of just normally use as my like kind of generic default Automobilista settings. Um, I've lowered damping and friction to 10 and 9%. I slew rates at 1. I have my torque at 12.5. So basically, this is sort of, you'll see the wheel sort of reacting.
in between the first and the second test.